Japan is a country which attracts people mostly for the Japanese pop culture. This is something
Right.
that is internationally popular. So there's J-pop, cosplay, manga, anime, and all that. And many young people are totally into that. And then it is their dream to come to Japan to experience this firsthand.
Welcome to the show, Canadians Work and Travel Abroad, a podcast by Go International Work and Travel Providers about all things to do with working and traveling overseas. I'm Tamsin Claxton, host of the show and founder of Go International. I'm also an avid international traveler. Welcome back to Canadians Work and Travel Abroad. I'm really excited to be joined today by Chris Engler and Thais Tanaka from World Unite, our partner in Japan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Great to see you both. So World Unite is an organization that Go International has partnered with to provide work and travel programs to our participants. And they've got a fantastic program in Japan. And I want to start by just talking a little bit more about World Unite. So Chris, I think you're the founder and probably CEO, as I understand it. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what is World Unite and when did you start it and why?
World Unite is an organization that is currently active in, I always have to count, I think it is 11 countries at the moment. And we are offering educational travel programs. That includes various types of activities. And one of those, working holiday support services, offering to international travelers. So when it comes to working holiday, this is something we are currently doing in cooperation with Go International in Japan, where we are sitting now here in our office in Tokyo, and in South Korea and in Germany.
Yeah. And when did you start it?
It started in 2006 in East Africa, actually. So in Zanzibar, this is where everything started. Our program in Japan, we started in 2015. Yeah. And the reason why we started Japan was basically because there was the demand of travelers for such kind of support. It is very difficult for a foreigner who is not fluent in Japanese and who is not familiar with how things work in Japan to make the arrangement on their own. So that's why we thought there's a need for what we are offering here.
Wonderful. Okay. So you set up in 2000 and I think you said 15. So you're
15, yeah.
Yeah. So 8 years. And the core program I think you offer there is the one we help Canadians participate in, which is your working holiday program for travelers from all over the world.
Yeah, anyone who can get a working holiday visa can join this program.
People who qualify for the visa. And what other programs do you offer out of Japan?
Out of Japan, we also offer internships, some volunteering programs, and language program.
Right. And Thais, you're the program manager, I think. Is that right? For the working holiday program?
Program coordinator, and also I'm in charge of the job support.
What does that look like? What kind of services are the clients that come to you from all over the world, the participants who are arriving in Japan for your program? What service do they get for you in that program, both before they leave their home country and after they arrive?
So before they leave their home country, we provide support with the visa. So basically help them gather the documents and guide them in which documents they need to apply for the visa. And also we have a knowledge base, an online material where our participants can read through and prepare for the program, what they need to bring and how they can prepare for it and things that are important to know before they come to Japan. And once they arrive here, we have the airport pickups. So we pick them up at the airport and bring them to the share house. And on the following days, we take them to the city office to register here in Japan. We also have support. We have a job counseling session where we explain to them how to find jobs in Japan. And we also have many other services to help them to find jobs in Japan. We also have a luggage storage that they can use throughout the whole year of the program. So a lot of people, they come here and they want to travel around Japan, but they don't want to take their whole luggage with them.
Just to add, before they arrive to Japan, there's also a Zoom preparation session answering all common questions. When it comes to the job to support, to specify a little bit, like there is a general job counseling session, which is a group session here at our office, which is happening once per week. Participants can basically join this at any time. They can also come again after some months if they want to refresh their memories about it, in which we teach everything participants have to know about working in Japan, how to find jobs, how to behave at a job interview. We do a role play in which we practice that legal aspect, types of work contracts and so on. So this is what we explain, and Thais is providing these sessions. Then we also have the one-on-one support, which is optimizing their resume for Japanese employers. So we do that, and the English version, which should be written a little bit different from how it is common in the English-speaking countries. We do the Japanese translation, so the Rireksho, which is the Japanese resume. And then we have a one-on-one support where we basically look into what is the person interested, what is a realistic job to find for that person, and assist in finding that job. So basically, we have direct contacts to many employers that are regularly hiring foreigners. We have, of course, we can check on online job boards. And then if participants have Japanese conversational skills, we take them also to the job support center of the Japanese government, where they have a database of jobs that don't require any native Japanese language skills. And they also have a very high success rate in placing people into employment.
What types of jobs are you seeing Canadian participants get when they come overseas to do your program?
Well, I think a lot of our participants or Canadian participants, they don't want to stay the whole year in one place. So they want to travel around. So a lot of them just get hospitality jobs. So jobs at restaurants, hotels, kayas, which are Japanese kind of bars, food bars. Also, a lot of participants get jobs as actors or models because in Japan, they're very interested in foreign faces. So it's actually really easy for them to get jobs like that. They don't need to be supermodels or great actors to participate on a TV show or something like that in Japan. They actually have a lot of opportunities here as long as you speak English or a little bit of Japanese, you can find easily.
Right. And how long does it typically take somebody to find a job with your support?
We encourage them to be a little flexible, yeah, and to accept the jobs that are available for them if they depend on the income. The thing is also like, of course, it depends also on the level of Japanese. So if they don't know any Japanese at all or only very basic Japanese, then the realistic jobs basically are English. This is something that was not mentioned before. So that is a common thing. Teaching English is not only at formal language schools, but there are also like kindergartens, like after school clubs where they just want to have an English speaker who would speak in English to the kids and do the homework with them, play and so on. Then there are these language cafes, which is a place where a Japanese person just sit and has conversation to practice English conversation skills. And you basically get paid per hour for doing that. This is usually not a full-time job. Like participants do that as maybe once or twice per week for maybe 4 hours each time. So this is possible if you don't speak any Japanese. And then also jobs that don't require any talking, which is cleaning jobs, which is like light factory work. We have participants who are working like when there's like a construction site, they stand there with this lighting pole to make sure nobody falling into the ditch or something. Such kind of things don't require any Japanese. So if you accept such kind of jobs, such simple jobs also, I think it's realistic to find that within maybe 2 weeks after your arrival.
Oh, as quickly as 2 weeks, people are working. I know we recommend that the students, or no, they're not students, but the participants going to your program, that they sign up for some basic Japanese lessons. What do you recommend in terms of duration if somebody knows no Japanese at all? How many weeks of lessons and what kind of intensity are those classes?
Most of our participants, they join 4 weeks lesson, and that's just enough for you to know the basics and find this type of jobs that we talk about that doesn't require much Japanese. Of course, some people do really want to learn Japanese and they can continue to study, but we do recommend 4 weeks for people that don't know Japanese at all and just want to get by, just want to start in the Japanese learning.
Yeah. If a person was comparing various destinations, what would you tell them? What are the main reasons to choose Japan as a place to do a working holiday visa program?
I think usually we don't even have to convince them because it is already their strong desire to come to Japan. Japan is a country which attracts people mostly for the Japanese pop culture. This is something that is internationally popular. So there is J-pop, cosplay, manga, anime and all that. And many young people are totally into that. And then it is their dream to come to Japan to experience this firsthand.
Yeah. It makes me think of my daughter when she was younger. One of her friends said her mom asked her what her resolution was that year. And she said, I want to become a little more Japanese this year. And she's not even Japanese. But she was so enamored and fascinated by the culture. She said it's an intention to become Japanese that year. So it's pretty cute. What do you think are the biggest benefits that you see from the time people arrive to the time they leave? What do you see in terms of benefits and changes maybe that happen to your participants as they sort of go through your program and have these experiences of working in Japan and connecting with Japanese? How do you see them benefiting?
A lot of our participants, they just finished high school. So they're just taking that first gap year overseas. And this is a very life-changing experience. A lot of our participants, they also had the dream to live in Japan. So this is their opportunity to experience that and maybe go after other types of visa afterwards. So you can really see a change on them. And it's actually interesting. You meet them on their arrival. And then after a couple of months, they come back to our office. They're like, oh my God, you changed so much. And they're just exploring. They have so many stories to tell. Like they've been to so many places. So it's very interesting to see it.
How much can a Canadian going on your program expect to earn in a job, assuming that they don't have Japanese skills? What can they expect to earn? And is that going to be enough to cover their living expenses and to allow them to travel when they're there? Or should they have a lot of money saved before they come?
So basically, most of these type of jobs, they are paid them little more than the minimum legal salary, which depends on the prefecture in Japan. So in Tokyo, it is the highest because also the living expenses are higher here. So that is in the range of around 1,100 Japanese yen per hour. So if you work part-time or full-time, it is already possible to cover your living expenses here. Yeah, we have the share house where the accommodation is relatively affordable. Food actually is not very expensive in Japan if you compare it with Canada. And so when people ask this question, if you compare all the expenses, which is the travel costs, which is the program fees, which is then the living costs once you are here, with how much you make through these kind of jobs, the break-even point is usually in the 4th month. Yeah, so that means from that point, you have more than what you invested in total into your stay in Japan. And you can use that money to travel around or to save it and bring it back home or whatever you want to do.
Right. Yeah. Perfect. So including flights and program fees, they've usually got that covered plus their living expenses by the end of the 4th month.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. That's a good analysis. If you could give some advice to Canadians who are thinking coming to Japan, what would you tell them in terms of what they should prepare for culturally?
I mean, I don't think there is a lot to prepare for. They get here the full service. So we basically help them with everything. And advice, of course, is like the better you know Japanese, the easier it is to have a wide range of job availabilities and also jobs that are well paid. Yeah. So if they have some time, the suggestion is that they learn some Japanese before they come here. So they can do that online. They can use apps, etc., which improves or helps them with their stay here.
And in the workplaces, because you're originally from Europe, Chris, and Thais, you're originally from Brazil, right? So you've worked in other countries. How would you compare the workplace in Japan to workplaces in your countries? Is there any kind of big notable cultural differences in the workplace, in the hours of work, communication at work, things like that?
Also, the Japanese workplace is known to be a little bit more strict than other countries and more conservative. Back in the overtime was very common in Japan. The government is trying to improve laws for employees in Japan, but still there is a big difference between Western countries and Japan when it comes to work. So it's definitely a different experience when they come here.
Chris, so comparing your experience of working in Europe, and maybe you've worked in other countries as well, how would you compare the workplaces in Japan to workplaces in other places in the world that you've been to?
There are all type of companies. And then also like the companies we are placing our participants in are often not the most conservative companies because they already hire foreigners. Generally talking about companies in Japan, there are relatively strict behavioral rules in the workplace. So this is something we also talk about in the preparation sessions. The biggest problem I would say is, or difficulty participants have, is indirect communication. If the employer or colleagues are not completely happy about something, they never say that openly. And it is difficult for a foreigner who is unfamiliar with the Japanese communication style. And then additionally, if there is this language barrier, to sense this. So we have often the situation that even employers are contacting our Japanese staff and are explaining the situation rather than addressing this directly to the employee. And then we have to be in between and explain it to the participant what has exactly happened here. So these are these intercultural differences, which take a lot of time, and you will not even understand this during the 1 year in Japan. I'm still struggling with this after many years in Japan, actually, in certain situations.
Well, that's really understanding differences in culture, isn't it? And it's no way to learn it but get into it and work your way through it. Is there a better time of the year for people to arrive in Japan if they're looking for work?
It is possible throughout the year. Yeah, so here in the big city, there is no difference. Jobs are available throughout the year. The peak season, most people we have arriving is usually like between August and November. So this is when it gets really crowded here. So like if you have the possibility and you can arrive during other months, this is maybe you get more job opportunities because there are not many other participants then, not so many.
Yeah, interesting. August and November, I guess that's instead of going back to school, they go away. It's kind of like the start of a semester.
People also want to do the ski resorts program. So in that case, it's best to arrive a little bit before the winter season so they can actually go and work in ski resorts and snowboard.
And what we didn't mention before is also farm work. There are also opportunities to work on farms, and this is something we can organize also everywhere in Japan. And then this is more from spring to autumn. There are not so many positions in the winter time, but like the harvesting season is the busiest time there, which is late summer, early autumn.
Yeah. That must be interesting to live with the Japanese. Do they live with the family on the farm, or are there actual staff houses?
It depends on the size of the farm. If it's a small family-run farm, they can live with the family, but there are also bigger ones that have separate staff accommodation.
Right. That would be an interesting experience. As is the idea of working at the ski resorts in Japan. I've heard fantastic stories about skiing in Japan, and that the dry powder in Japan is supposed to be incredible. So what type of job opportunities exist for a Canadian in a Japanese ski resort?
So in the ski resorts, we have hospitality in general. So waitressing, or some people also, they can work in the kitchen as a kitchen assistant or a cook assistant. But they can also work as entertainer if they have experience in the entertainment. So basically the resorts need people that speak English foreigners to talk to the customers and entertain the customers, entertain the kids. So this is also a possibility.
Right.
But also then we have like a ski instructor, snowboard instructor. They need some professional qualification for that. And then there are jobs like the receptionist and the luggage boy and the elevator operator and this kind of stuff.
Right. And I guess a lot of the tourists would be international. They probably must get a lot from Australia.
Yes.
Australia and New Zealand, this is the majority, but then also other Asians who are English speaking.
From Hong Kong, for sure there'd be a lot coming from Hong Kong. Can we talk about the activity program that you have for participants? I'm sure it's important for people to get some support in getting out and seeing Tokyo and getting to know the country and also making friends.
Once a month, we have social meetups. So sometimes they go to parks. We do different activities where they can meet other participants that maybe are not living in the share house, but in other share house. Also Japanese people, so they can practice Japanese. So next month is going to be cherry blossom season. So we're going to go to a park and basically just be under the beautiful cherry blossom trees, and they can interact. And also in the share house, we have a group online, which is similar to WhatsApp. And our participants, they're always organizing themselves hangouts. So, let's go to a club together, a bar together. Let's do this activity together. So it's really great that they have this place where they can just talk and chat and
make plans. It sounds like that's great. Yeah. You get them invited into that group as soon as they arrive, so they can make friends.
We are also outbound provider. Now we are sending Japanese people to the US as au pairs. So these Japanese people want to improve their English conversation skills. So we also invite them to these social activities. And then there's this language exchange. Yeah, they can speak in English with the foreign participants, and foreign participants speak Japanese with the Japanese participants.
With great people.
Can you think of any kind of remarkable stories, things that stand out in your memory? A participant that's come through and had a unique experience, or just a touching experience that you can share?
As I mentioned before, like many people have a strong desire for them to come to Japan, and then they already have a kind of very idea of what they want to do here. So I remember one participant who absolutely wanted to be a guide for this Super Mario Kart experience in Tokyo. So there are these go-karts driving through the streets in Tokyo, and he has heard about that before. And people are dressed up as the characters, like cartoon characters. So this was his idea, to have this as his job while he's in Japan. And then he got the job, and he was...
I've seen that. I didn't know what I was watching. I thought, what is happening? All these people driving by in these little go-karts in the middle of traffic and in costumes.
There was also another one who was really passionate about judo. And Japan is the country where this originates from. So he wanted to work in Japan as a judo teacher, and he also got that as a job. Even though he didn't really speak Japanese, but it was possible. Yeah. Usually, like for the jobs that require such qualification, it is necessary to have better language skills. But he managed to find one where he can teach that in English to children.
That's amazing. So they got 2 for 1. They got English lessons and judo lessons all at the same time. Have you seen any trends or any changes in what participants are looking for, what they're trying to achieve when they're there, or any trends in sort of travel patterns?
I think it has not really changed since we started it in 2015. What we observe is an increase of participant numbers. There are new countries added that get working holiday visas, and then also like within the countries that already have the program. I think just because of the popularity of Japan as a travel destination, more and more people become aware of the existence of this program and decide to come here. So like our participant numbers are increasing every year.
Right. Well, we've definitely seen that on our end. We're getting a lot more inquiries for Japan. It's probably the number 2 destination right now for Canadians going abroad, at least through our programs. What do you think is the advantage for your participants of having them come through Go International? How do we help in the process, and how do we help you in delivering the services?
You are offering the visa support. They don't have to go to the embassies and consulates. And then, of course, if you compare it with trying to arrange everything on your own in Japan, yeah, it makes things just so much easier. We have regularly also people who are in Japan already and they try to make all the arrangements on their own, and then they with it. And then they still book our support package while they're already here. The reasons for that are barrier differences, and then just like many things just work completely different from how they work in many other countries. And if you research online and you try to find these things, a lot of information is outdated, inaccurate, or it just takes a lot of time to find all this.
Right.
So it's convenience, and it is very helpful. You save lots of time and also possibly money that you spend on wrong decisions.
That's true. The money you spend on the program is really worth it because your services help them navigate the system so well, gives them access to a great place to live, and it gets them working faster. So they make money quicker, which pays them back for any money they invested in the program. And talk about the accommodation for a little bit. What have you provided in terms of accommodation for participants?
Another aspect related to accommodation, of course, that is a benefit for them is like getting in touch with other fellow working holiday travelers. Yeah. So this is what happens at the accommodation, where they can share experiences. They are sharing jobs, also positions. Someone is leaving and then the job becomes vacant and then another one can take it over and so on. And so the accommodation we have here are houses. Yeah, that's how they call it in Japan, a share house, which is a shared, usually larger building. So our office is in our own share house that we have here in a central location in Tokyo, where we have dorm rooms and twin rooms. And then we have a partner share house that also has single rooms. So there they can meet other participants. They can meet us because our office is here in the same building. They can just walk in. We have like opening hours. Our support is for the whole year while they are here. So anything they need to know, to help with, they can always walk in. Thais and our other colleagues are here to assist them. Host family accommodation also exists for people who want to have that experience. So participants basically, like many of them, they stay at the share house at the beginning for some time. If they want, they can stay for the whole year. We have some people doing that. Others, after some time, maybe want some more privacy, and then they are looking for alternative accommodation, and we also assist them with that.
I know that our counselors who advise Canadians go abroad, they answer a lot of questions from Canadians before they go about all of these things, but we always remind them that you're there on the ground when they get there with so many services and advice. And as you say, it goes on for the whole year. So people can come back and speak to you at any point in the year and contact you, I guess, by email, by messenger to get more.
In Japan, we have Line, which is similar to WhatsApp, very popular here. And basically, they can message us anytime, and we always provide help. Sometimes it's something very simple, but it's hard for someone that doesn't know how it works in Japan. So, I need to send it back home, or I need to send a letter because I need to make a bank transfer. So this type of inquiries, we're always helping them by line. So it's very easy. They don't need to be in Tokyo. They might be traveling and have a question that pops up, and we can easily help them.
Fantastic. You're both from other countries, as we talked about. I'm assuming you both did some work and travel abroad, and then now you're back in your ancestral home, right? Nice. And
Yeah.
Chris, you're not in your ancestral home, but your new home. But what kind of work and travel did you do, or work internships abroad before you got into your careers?
A couple of years ago, I worked and studied in Australia for a year and a half. So that was my first experience abroad, and that really changed my mind, and it really opened the doors of the world where I just want to get to know different cultures and visit different countries. And like you said, Japan is my family background. So I just ended up here 4 years ago, and it's so unique. Japan, even though my family is Japanese, it's still so unique for a Brazilian, which is completely different culture. So I'm definitely enjoying it. I love experiencing different cultures and different countries.
What about you,
Yeah.
Chris? Is that what got you into this field of work? Was it because you went on a work and travel or internship
I
abroad?
never did any work and travel myself. I don't know. I was just interested in traveling in general, and I already left Germany in my home country when I was 20, and since then have never lived there really. So I was in Spain, I was in UK, I was in Nicaragua, I was in Japan, in Tanzania, Zanzibar. So basically, all these years always abroad.
Well, but you were
Difficult.
working abroad then. You must have started your business. Where did you first start World Unite?
That was in Zanzibar, in East Africa. This just happened somehow. There was not a master plan behind it, but I just spotted some opportunities and made it work. And then it grew over the years.
It's incredible when you talk to people, how many people will tell you that their experience when they were in their 20s of going abroad for a work and travel or internship or just a vacation put them on a different path. In my case, I went to work in Switzerland for an international summer camp between years of university, and that's what inspired me to start a business in international education, which then led to eventually work experience programs, volunteer programs, and put me on a new path. So it can definitely have a big impact and a very positive impact, I think, on everyone's life.
Yeah. And I think it's really nice that we had this experience and now we're working, helping those people. They're having their first experience. So I can really relate to them and remember my first week in Australia. I didn't know what to do, and it's a new country, and I'm discovering so much. I'm having so many different experiences. So it's really nice to interact with our participants.
That's great. What would you like to say as sort of final thing in terms of inspiring people to go? Any words of wisdom, advice?
I think Japan is a very unique country. And even for those that are not into anime, gaming, or Japanese culture, pop culture, it still is a very unique country compared to Western countries. So it's still an amazing experience for sure. It's something that you should experience at least once in your life, either traveling for a couple of months or spending a whole year here. It's definitely something unique.
Chris, is there a minimum length of time people should come if they want to work?
The validity of the visa is 1 year, and the majority of participants are also staying for almost for a full year. It is, of course, possible if you have other obligations and you cannot stay here properly or to stay for shorter durations. We usually advise if you have very little time, like let's say less than 3 months or so, you should not use your working holiday visa because you only get it once in a lifetime. But you can, for instance, come on the visa exemption, do an internship or something for a short duration. And then if you really like it here and you decide maybe to come back later, then use your working holiday visa.
You can get it till you're 35 years old. So it's worth waiting till you can really take advantage. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. And I'm looking forward to seeing you when I come to Japan.
Thank you
Thank you for having us.
Well, that's all for this episode of Canadians Work and Travel Abroad. I'm Tamsin Plaxton, and thanks for joining us. We would love to hear from you, so if you have feedback or ideas of other topics you would like us to cover in new episodes, please contact us. Our email address is programs, programs, programs @gointernational.ca. And if you want to learn more about the programs we currently offer, please visit our website, www.gointernational.ca. And in order to help us find more Canadians and share this information, please like and review this podcast. We want to get the word out. Thanks so much.